Michelle Silverman Bedell from Silver Sons Realty. And we are waiting for there you are, Marie.
Hi,
How
how
are
are you?
you? I'm good. And yourself?
Very well. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I can't, because I work on the weekend, I can't say I'm happy it's Friday. Right?
That's
I
fair.
thought about that. Anyway, I am happy it's Friday because it's
It
sunny.
is.
Anyway,
It's a nice day out today.
right? So today we are going to speak about a few things. And Marie, you could start off by really telling us what's going on with with mortgages and any new products on the market and for first-time buyers or buyers in general.
Sure. Yeah. So, couple of things there. I mean, there are, we probably have more first-time home buyer programs available now than as many that I've seen in at least the last 10 years. There's a real push, and it's coming, it's not just like within my own bank, right? But coming from federally and state organizations as well to there's always going to be like a big push to promote home ownership, right? Especially affordable home ownership. So I would really encourage anybody that is, a first-time home buyer. By the way, a definition of a first-time home buyer is somebody who has not owned or a home within the last 3 years.
Correct.
So even if you're somebody who has owned a home in the past, but you haven't owned one in the last 3 years, you may qualify for these programs. And I would say, reach out to somebody like myself, a loan officer, talk to your real estate agents, because I know that you guys hear all about these programs from people like me as well, and find out what's available. And know this too, that like there are so many different programs and not every lender offers all of them. So you really might have to do some homework in terms of which ones you might qualify for, and what lender might have those options for you.
Do you have any no income verifications or any of those coming back again?
So not on like the traditional banking side, right? I mean, I work for a bank, so we're still, very regulated, and there's not going to be any no income verification. But what there is is what we call expanded approval, right? So whereas if the guideline says that one's debt ratio needs to be, let's say, under 43%, we have expanded guidelines now that allow for us to approve loans up to 50%. There are some first-time home buyer programs that go up to 55% debt to income ratio. So you still have to provide the income, or if you're somebody that doesn't have any income, but you have, substantial assets,
right?
That can be used to qualify as well. That's not really considered no income verification, because we're still using the assets to qualify. Something that just happened Thursday, or I guess that was yesterday, with us is we've had a restriction over the last, because it's been more than a year, on doing expanded loan to values, meaning like, let's say the guideline says that if you're, to qualify, you have to put 20% down. Up until a couple of years ago, we had the ability to approve expanded loan to value. So like if somebody had, let's say, an excellent credit score and their debt to income ratio was low, or they had some additional assets, if the guideline said that they had to put 20%, we could do expanded approval for an extra 10%, meaning they could put 10% down less.
Right.
We just reinstated that expanded loan to value program. So I think that's a really good sign that, and that came without any warning or, heads up, like, oh, by the way, we're going to be opening that up again. That's telling me that like first of all, they're looking for more borrowers, right? Looking for more loans. And they're also feeling really confident about where the prices are, right? Like usually when we restrict loan to values, it's because we might think we're in a declining market, but we're not.
The market is absolutely not declining.
Absolutely not.
I want to speak about the market, but before I forget, I wanted to ask you something about do the banks, because somebody asked me a question this morning about this, because they said, look, we're going to start looking, maybe in about 6 to 8 months, but when I'm more on salary as opposed to a 1099, he gets the same salary every month, but he said the banks may view a 1099 less than a salaried employee.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how your bank values that.
Yeah.
But I think the thing I told him is that what's important is that if you're working in an industry, you don't switch your
Right.
job or a different industry when you're
Right.
starting to look for a home.
Yeah.
You really should be consistent.
When somebody's getting 1099 pay, that means taxes aren't being taken out, right? So
Correct.
in order for us to use that income, the guideline is that you have to have a 2-year history of filed tax returns with
Right.
that income.
Okay.
Now, there are some exceptions that can be made. Something that's common in our area is, like, let's say you have somebody that works for like Price Waterhouse Coopers, right? They were on salary. Now they've gotten promoted to partner. They no longer will be on a W-2. They go automatically to a 1099. Like somebody like that, that's making a switch from W-2 to 1099, we can typically work with, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if
For
you're,
sure.
say, regular Joe, that's like, okay, I had a job, I was laid off, and now I'm like starting my own business, or I'm doing like 1099 contract work, that's going to be really difficult, really
Right.
challenging
Right.
to get approved for a loan.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
know. I think what's interesting, I just want to speak a little bit about the market
Yeah.
in general, because what I'm reading, and there have been interesting articles just recently, one recently in the New York Post this week, and different through U.S. News, and different publications, is that the market, and I could even see it, that the market in certain areas, in certain communities in Westchester, and I know the city is more sluggish than Westchester. I'm not sure how Staten Island is, but in Westchester and throughout the community, throughout the county, there's definitely, this is the 7th month in a row where the inventory is starting to tick up.
Right.
That's number one, which is an excellent thing. Now, it's not near where it was near pre-pandemic levels,
Right.
obviously, but it's starting to increase. Especially in the high-end communities, in the high end, I'm seeing more and more homes come on. In addition, I'm seeing price reductions, which I have not seen maybe in a really long time.
Right.
So that's also an indication that sellers are becoming over optimistic, and they're being encouraged to price the house high because they think everything's going to sell in a day. Now, I think things sell very quickly up here if it's priced correctly.
Right.
And inventory is still low in comparison to what it was. So that is also driving up the market.
Right.
I also think that as the interest rates start to come down a little bit, if they do,
Right.
for some like the generation was Z, they're not that concerned with interest rates to a degree, and they're in the market. So
Right.
the millennials and the Generation Z, they're still buying, they're still fueling the purchasings of homes,
Right.
but and mortgages,
Right.
right? But I think they're also getting used to the fact, okay, I'm not going to have a 3 or 4% mortgage. I have to buy something. I want to buy something. I'm going to do it. I
Right.
think what's holding the inventory back even more is the fact that people, baby boomers, people who have bought and years ago, whether they have a mortgage or not, if they want to buy, and they may not want to buy in cash or may not have cash,
Right.
they want to take advantage of a lower interest rate.
Right.
So they're not putting their
Right.
house on the market
Right.
until, so that's kind of like what's really holding back
That's it in a nutshell, right? That's the crux,
right.
right? It's like people like you and I, right? I'm a Gen Xer. The Gen Xers are who might be considering downsizing at this point, right? Many of them are not doing that. They're saying, well, you know what? I'll just stay in my bigger home with my 3% mortgage,
no mortgage, right?
Right, or no mortgage because I've paid it off, as opposed to getting something at a higher rate. I do think that rates are still elevated. They haven't really come down. They're
Right.
you have day to day and week to week market shifts where, you know, they're up a quarter, down a quarter, but, you know, for the most part, they're pretty flat. But I do think that when rates start to come down, and they will come down, right? I mean, we know that you know, at some point the Fed is going to be reducing rates, and then that will have a, you know, a snowball effect on mortgage rates. I think that if they even come down, like, you know, 1%, say, from where they are now, then that's going to create more of that inventory, right? Because maybe somebody's not inclined to like give up their one mortgage for a 7% mortgage, but I think if they can get a fixed rate in the 6s or an ARM in the 5s, you're going to see like, okay, you know what, I'll do that, because that's still, people still don't realize, like, any rate below 7% is still lower than what the average mortgage rate is historically been, right? But I think you're 100%. Yeah, but you're right on with the younger millennials and the, what's the new one, the Gen Zs, because they don't know, they're coming into this not knowing about, never having had the opportunity to have the lower, you know, pandemic interest rates.
So it'll be interesting to see. I also think, and one other point I want to point out, especially with people sitting in their houses, whether they have a mortgage or not, or especially if they have a mortgage, the reassessment just came out in Westchester. So everybody recently in communities that are fully assessed communities, their assessment, which is what your taxes are based on, just readjusted as of June 1st. And many of these assessments have increased because the purchase prices have increased so dramatically. So these people, they now are paying more taxes. That will really, in my opinion, if they're not have kids that are no longer in the schools, they don't need to be here or in that community where they've been living for 40 years or 30 years. They may at this point say, you know what, I've had enough. The market's strong. It's still very robust in Westchester. I want to get out. So I think you're going to see a natural supply of homes coming back on the market based on this. And also, people always move because of, unfortunately, death, divorce, marriage, and, you know, just different life cycle events.
Fortunately, you know, fortunately for the both of us, right? There's always going to be people that are, you know, either want their first home or want to get out of the home that they're in and get into something else. So I agree that I think that that's a really astute, you know, but like you said, if you're somebody and you're now retired, right? Or even if you're not retired, but your kids are out of school and you know, you moved there. A lot of people, let's face it, moved to places like Westchester, parts of New Jersey, you know, specifically for the school districts, right? Yeah, they're going to be like, why do I want to pay, you know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year? Or 50.
I can keep going. 60. Anyway, and especially especially in areas where they get reevaluated, they really are getting socked with a higher tax rate. So on that note, and we'll keep it positive.
Yes.
We hope that we'll see everybody next Friday, and we wish everybody a good weekend. And if you have any topics you want us to discuss,
please reach out to us, DM us. It's great to see you, Michelle. Have a wonderful weekend.
Be well.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Great. Have a good one. Bye-bye.